So we are in Royal Rumble season, my friends, and the first question that comes up into everybody's brain is, well, who is going to win the women's match and who is going to win the men's match? Now, we don't know, but we can guess. The best thing to do is go through a bunch of wrestlers, and even if it sounds like we pulled such a name out of our ass, sit down and try and figure out, well, could it happen, or is this absolutely baloney? My name is Simon Miller, welcome to What Culture Wrestling, and this is 10 wild outside bets that may just win the 2023 Royal Rumble. Number 10, Solo Sikoa. Now, I will admit, one of the reasons I'm throwing Solo's name into this is because I love the man. He had such a good 2022, and he transitioned from NXT to SmackDown like it was nothing. That doesn't just happen, you gotta be very good at your job. I mean, I would go as far to say that his move up has been the best one ever. That's right, don't at me. So if you do want to turn him into a mega superstar, you could have him win the Royal Rumble. I mean, all you've got to do is somehow tie it into the Bloodline story. It may actually make it super duper interesting. And once again, don't forget these are wild, crazy bets, so I don't think Solo Sikoa is going to win it, hence why he's in at number 10. But the thought alone makes me feel all warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. Number 9, Alexa Bliss. Now, we have had it all but confirmed by this stage that Alexa Bliss is going to do something with Bray Wyatt, or at least the Eater of Worlds is in her head. She's going crazy now. Now, of course, this could tie into her feud with Bianca Belair because they did have that match and it basically ended with shenanigans. So I suppose if you do have a mega plan for Bliss in 2023, let her win the Royal Rumble, go on to WrestleMania, she could beat Bianca Belair, become the champion, then you reunite her with Bray Wyatt properly, all of a sudden we're off to the races. Now, I actually think there's far better people that you should choose to do this because you can achieve everything we just talked about without the Rumble. But I've told you once, I've told you twice, I've told you 3 times. We are trying to think about the crazy options here. And I know if Alexa Bliss won, I would turn around like, how the hell did that happen? Number 8, Sami Zayn. It is a massive shame that Sami Zayn has to be on this list, because when you go through everything the Bloodline did in 2022, if he did win the Royal Rumble, and then you have a segment on SmackDown with Roman going, well, you're not actually going to challenge me at WrestleMania, are you? And Sam being like, well, no, but yeah, and then all of a sudden the whole thing implodes, well, it would just be wonderful. Shakespeare would be proud. The thing is, when we do go through WWE history, Zayn just isn't the type of person they usually choose to win the thing. Now, of course, Triple H is in charge these days, so there is a chance, but when I search my feelings like I'm some kind of a Jedi, I just don't believe it. I talked about this on another video too. Just because Sam is victorious in it doesn't mean he has to be the guy to dethrone the head of the table. It could just lead to a cool match before you get to the granddaddy of them all. And I know that we, the fans, would all be happy that Sami Zayn would finally get his. Much like other people on this list though, I do think we will get to there in some guys, but we'll take a different direction. But believe you me, when that event is on, I'm keeping everything crossed. Number 7, ROXANNE PEREZ. If you are a fan of NXT, you know that ROXANNE PEREZ recently became the NXT Women's Champion, but also, even though she's only like 20 years old, holy crap, she's flubbing good. And this is why I wanted to put her in this list, because when you go through the other candidates, say a Becky Lynch or a Charlotte Flair, you can go, well, they're already stars. They don't need to win the Royal Rumble. It's not going to make any difference to them. But if ROXANNE PEREZ was a surprise entrant and she won the thing, firstly, we've never done anything like this before, so it'd be cool. But also, 2, we're only in January, and you just set up someone for the entire 12-month period. It's not like she can't hold her own either. From the very first day she walked into the company, she's just been having good match after good match after good match. I mean, there's a reason the powers that be chose her to defeat Mandy Rose. They can see it. She's also such a likable babyface that I bet she could get all the fans to be into this. And I actually would want this to happen. Now, again, it won't because, again, we've never cracked this stone. But you've got to put things out there to try and manifest it into existence. That's what I'm trying to do. Number 6, Bron Breakker, which basically ties into Bron Breakker. We're just talking about the men's Rumble rather than the women's one. Because eventually Bron does need to come up to either Raw or SmackDown. He's basically done as much as he can in NXT. And if we actually have the belief in him that we certainly seem to, then you gotta make a big deal about it. Play the trumpet, and just have him win the Royal Rumble. I mean, you can't do it if ROXANNE PEREZ is gonna be the women's one, but if you're not gonna do that, here's an option. I just think at some point in the future we should do something like this, because then you don't have to do the whole, oh my gosh, this person's on NXT, and now they're on Mondays and Fridays, and here why you should love them. You don't need to tell any type of story, because they just won the Royal Rumble. Also, in this instance, it means Breakker could face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. He could beat him too. And of course, it is very unlikely, and if you're not a fan of NXT, you're gonna be like, well, that seems like an absolute waste, but we have had so many Rumbles by this stage. Just once, I would love to take a risk. Number 5, Ronda Rousey. Now, it is kind of mad that Ronda Rousey would be in a list like this, because even 6 weeks ago, I was like, well, if she does lose the SmackDown Women's Championship, maybe she enters the Raw Rumble, she wins the damn thing, and then she can take on either Charlotte or Becky Lynch. As it turns out, though, I don't think we're going to get any of that, because she's already in a feud with the Queen, and you can't stretch that out to WrestleMania. And if we are going to believe rumors, WWE doesn't want to do Ronda versus Bex anymore. You tell me. So the reason I didn't want to mention Rousey's name is because ever since she has come back, there's just been something missing about the presentation. I don't think she comes across as a bigger star as she did during round 1. So maybe to light a fire underneath her, she could go and win the Raw Rumble. Now, even with some of the other people we've already mentioned, I actually think Ronda could be even further away, because I have now convinced myself that when we get to WrestleMania, it is going to be Ronda taking on Shayna Baszler. And you don't need a championship for that. All you need is to tell the story of their past. When I do think about it, could be pretty good. I do think if she does enter the damn thing, she'll have a Brock Lesnar performance where she hurls a bunch of people out before getting eliminated herself. And maybe that could be done by Shayna too. Then we're away. Number 4, Logan Paul. Now, you will throw your hands in the air and say, Simon, how dare you even say such a thing? But did you actually believe that Logan Paul was going to headline a pay-per-view against Roman Reigns in 2022? No, you did not. But it happened. It's quite clear that WWE is very high on the guy too. And look, he's only had 3 matches and he's an absolute badass. And if you were trying to generate headlines for WrestleMania, if Logan Paul wins the Royal Rumble, you're going to get all of them, even though the hardcore fan is going to melt down. We also tie into more rumors here, because apparently Logan Paul versus John Cena has been penciled in for WrestleMania, so you can even have some fun with it. Logan can be like, listen, what I want more than anything is to challenge the man who can't be seen, so he uses his Royal Rumble win to make it happen. That totally diminishes the championship. Roman shouldn't have held it for 7 million days, should he? Personally, I don't want this to happen because I think the Royal Rumble can turn a wrestler into a proper star, and Mr. Paul does not need that. But if somebody put a gun to my head, would I say absolutely no? No, I would not. Number 3, Candice LeRae. So once again, we are tying into other feelings we've already chatted about. But at the moment, ever since Candice LeRae has returned to WWE, she hasn't done much of anything, even though she's pretty damn good. She's also a babyface that knows how to get over with the fans. So when I am looking past WrestleMania, which no one ever does at this time of year, I actually think you probably want to make sure she elevates herself to another level. You already know what I'm going to say. Why not have her win the Royal Rumble? But I do think about WrestleMania 2. Do you know what a match I would love to see is, given it is now over 2 nights? Candice versus Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Because I tell you, LeRae knows how to get over as a good guy. Charlotte Flair is so good as a bad guy, as silly as that sounds. So if you put them together and tell the right story, I'm going to be anticipating it. I absolutely would not put a bet on this, because again, if Candice LeRae can't even get a match on Raw, how the hell is this going to happen? But don't forget what this video is. We're talking about crazy ideas. This be a crazy one. Number 2, Montez Ford. Now, if we are talking about predictions for 2023 in general, I have to imagine that at some point the Street Profits are going to break up. Now, they don't have to fall out with each other and be like, I don't like you anymore. They can just go off on their separate ways. And if we are to believe the hearsay, WWE wants to give Montez Ford a push. So once again, we are back to this rhetoric, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you truly do have that plan and you want the audience to buy into it, have Montez win the Royal Rumble. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have everything ready to go. He totally does, and I'm sure he is able to do a singles match, even though he has been a tag team wrestler. Once again, I suppose the only downfall here would be if he does win the thing, he has to go and main event WrestleMania. But once again, there's 2 nights here. The whole point of doing 2 nights is we can have more fun with it, and you can do a little bit of a dance. Sometimes you do have to strike where the iron is hot, though, and I don't think we need to waste any more time on Ford. Let's just put him into the mix. See how he gets on. Number 1, Nikita Lyons. So Nikita Lyons trended a lot in 2022, and I don't want to get into it. You know what you were all doing. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. Now, I actually think I may be getting ahead of myself here, and eventually Lyons will break out down the line. But given that she does have this kind of following on the internet, and people seem to be into her, once again, you could call her up from NXT, and you could have her run wild. And she absolutely does get what WWE is looking for. So maybe this could happen in 2024. You could probably argue it's actually harder to do this in the women's division because there are just so many players involved right now, which is not a bad thing, by the way. But in case you have missed the theme of this entire video, yes, one day I want somebody to be called up in NXT, be a surprise in the Royal Rumble, and just win the thing. Especially because we've got 2 now every single year. For the love of everything, please do it. And we probably won't because some individuals will be so upset. But hey, I've gone through the list now, and now you need to tell me who you think down in those comments below. And there's no silly answers. You can even say Hornswoggle. Also, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Make sure you head over to WhatCulture.com where you can read articles like this with your eyes. Come give us a follow on social media at WhatCulture WWE and Simon Miller 316. We have a lot of videos, some of which will be about the Royal Rumble, and they want to be watched. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you very much for joining me as always. I hope you have a delicious January. That didn't make any sense.